neuron, nerve cell, neuron, nerve cell. Dendrites, bushy branching that receive messages and conduct impulses toward cell body. Dendrites, bushy branching that receives messages and conduct impulses toward cell body. Axon, extension that passes messages through branches to other neurons. Axon, extension that passes messages through branches to other neurons. Myelin sheath, fatty tissue layer around neuron. Myelin sheath, fatty tissue layer around axon. Axon. Action potential, neural impulse. Action potential, neural impulse. Nerves, connect central nervous system to muscle glands, organs. Nerves, connect central nervous system to muscle glands and organs. Sensory neurons, input. Sensory neurons, input. Motor neurons, output. Motor neurons, output. Association areas, learning, remembering, thinking. Association areas, learning, remembering, thinking. Adrenal glands, fight or flight response. Adrenal glands, fight or flight response. DNA, molecule containing genetic information. DNA, molecule containing genetic information. Genes, biochemical units of heredity. Genes, biochemical units of heredity. Genome, all genetic material in chromosomes. Genome, all genetic material in chromosomes. Cerebellum, sensory, input, movement, output, balance, nonverbal learning, and memory. Cerebellum, sensory, input, movement, output, balance, nonverbal learning, memory. Limbic system, neural system, created with hippocampus, amygdala, hypothalamus. Limbic system, neural system, created by hippocampus, amygdala, hypothalamus. Endocrine system, chemical communication system, glands that secrete hormones into bloodstream. Endocrine system, chemical communication system, glands that secrete hormones into bloodstream. Hormones, chemical messengers manufactured by endocrine system. Hormones, chemical messengers manufactured by endocrine system. Adrenal glands, endocrine glands above kidneys, controls arousal. Adrenal glands, endocrine glands above kidney, controls arousal. Pituitary gland, endocrine's most influential gland, controls other glands. Pituitary gland, endocrine's most influential gland, controls other glands. Refractory period, periods of rest after neuron fires. Refractory period, period of rest after neuron fires. Threshold, level of stimulation needed for a neural impulse. Threshold, level of stimulation needed for a neural impulse. All or none response, fires or doesn't. All or none response, fires or doesn't. Plasticity, ability to change. Plasticity, ability to change. Corpus callosum, carries messages between the two hemispheres. Corpus callosum, carries messages between the two hemispheres. Occipital lobe, visual. Occipital lobe, visual. Temporal lobe, auditory. Temporal lobe, auditory. Brainstem, automatic survival functions. Brainstem, automatic survival function. Medulla, heartbeat, breathing. Medulla, heartbeat and breathing. Split brain, hemispheres are disconnected. Split brain, hemispheres are disconnected. Consciousness, awareness. Consciousness, awareness. Molecular genetics, study of structure and functions of genes. Molecular genetics, study of structure and functions of genes. Pituitary gland, master endocrine gland. Pituitary gland, master endocrine gland. Thyroid gland, metabolism. Thyroid gland, metabolism. Endorphins, natural morphine. Endorphins, natural morphine. Agonist, molecule that stimulates response. Agonist, molecule that stimulates response. Antagonist, molecule that blocks response. Antagonist, molecule that blocks response. Thalamus, sensory control center. Thalamus, sensory control center. Nervous system, communication network. Nervous system, communication network. Central nervous system, brain and spinal cord. Central nervous system, brain and spinal cord. Peripheral nervous system. Sensory and motor neurons. Peripheral nervous system. Sensory and motor neurons. Pancreas. Regulates blood sugar. Pancreas. Regulates blood sugar. Parathyroid. Regulates calcium in blood. Parathyroid. Regulates calcium in blood. Synapse. Axon tip. Synapse. Axon tip. Neurotransmitter. Chemical messengers. Neurotransmitter. Chemical messengers. Reuptake. Neurotransmitters. Reabsorption. Reuptake. Neurotransmitters. Reabsorption. Interneurons. Neurons in central nervous system. Interneurons. Neurons in central nervous system. Somatic nervous system is the skeletal nervous system. Somatic nervous system is the skeletal nervous system. Autonomic nervous system is glands and muscles of internal organs. Autonomic nervous system. Glands and muscles of internal organs. Interaction. When one factor is dependent on another. Interaction. When one factor is dependent on another. Epigenetics. Environmental influences on genes. Epigenetics. Environmental influences on genes. Cognitive neuroscience. Study of brain cognition, perception, thinking, memory, language. Cognitive neuroscience. Study of brain cognition, perception, thinking, memory, language. Dual processing. Information is processed both unconsciously and consciously. Dual processing. Information is processed both unconsciously and consciously. Identical twins. Developed from same egg. Identical twins. Developed from same egg. Fraternal twins. Separate eggs. Developed from separate eggs. Fraternal twins. Developed in separate eggs. Frontal lobe. Speaking, muscle movement, plans, judgment. Frontal lobe. Speaking, muscle movement, plans, judgment. Parietal lobe. Sensory touch, body position. Parietal lobe. Sensory touch, body position. Biological psychology is the scientific study of the links between biological and psychological processes. Biological psychology is the scientific study of the links between biological and psychological processes. PET. PET scan. Positron emission tomography scan. Visual display of brain's activity. Positron emission tomography scan. Visual display of brain's activity. PET scan. Positron emission tomography scan. Visual display of brain's activity. MRI. Magnetic resonance imaging. MRI. Magnetic resonance imaging. Magnetic fields and radio waves used to produce computer-generated images of soft tissue. Shows brain anatomy. Magnetic resonance imaging. Magnetic fields and radio waves used to produce computer-generated images of soft tissue. Shows brain's anatomy. Cerebral cortex. Control Information Processing Center. Cerebral cortex. Control and Information Processing Center. Glial cells nourish and protect neurons. Glial cells nourish and protect neurons. Behavior genetics. Study of the power of genetics. Behavior genetics. The study of the power of genetics. Chromosomes. Structure of DNA containing genes. Chromosomes. Structure of DNA containing genes. Amygdala. Neural clusters. Emotion. Amygdala. Neural clusters. Emotion. Hypothalamus. Eating, drinking, body temperature. Hypothalamus. Eating, drinking, body temperature. Pons. Coordinates movement. Pons. Coordinates movement. Reticular formation. Controls arousal. Reticular formation. Controls arousal. EEG. Electroencephalogram. EEG. Electroencephalogram. Amplified recording of waves of electrical activity sweeping brain surfaces. Electroencephalogram. Amplified recording of waves of electrical activity sweeping brain surface. CT. Computed tomography scan. CT. Computed tomography scan. X-ray photos from several different angles. Computed tomography scan. X-ray photos from several different angles. Sympathetic nervous system. Arouses and expends energy. Sympathetic nervous system. Arouses and expends energy. Parasympathetic nervous system. Conserving energy. Parasympathetic Parasympathetic nervous system, conserving energy. Hippocampus, short-term to long-term memory. Hippocampus, short-term to long-term memory. Nucleus accumbens, reward, pleasure, addiction. Nucleus accumbens, award, pleasure, addiction. Motor cortex, voluntary cortex. Motor cortex, voluntary cortex. Somatosensory cortex, sensory. Somatosensory cortex, sensory. fMRI, functional MRI, reveals blood flow and brain activity. Functional MRI reveals blood flow and brain activity. Lesion, tissue destruction in brain. Lesion, tissue destruction in brain.